Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are, this is the third part in my Met Gala series. So today we're looking at the 90s, the Met Galas that happened during the 90s. We've already looked at the 70s and the 80s, so do feel free to go back through my channel to see those videos. And then stick around if you'd also like to see the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. So the first Met Gala of the 90s took place in 1990. So this was kind of the start of kind of grunge versus boy bands, and the gala took place on December the 3rd. The theme was Theatre de la Mode, fashion dolls, the survival of haute couture. Guests this year include Naomi Campbell. Again, this is the first time that, from what I remember, that she's kind of attending, in Versace, again an iconic dress. Bianca Jagger, Marc Jacobs and Marina Schiano. Nan Kemper again, Vera Wang and Lauren Azursky. And then in 1991, Nirvana had just released Nevermind, Aladdin was in cinemas, and alongside Sister Act. This year's gala took place on December the 7th, and the theme was Fashion and History, a Dialogue, with co-chair Pat Buckley, with the UAL blurb. So in case you don't know, UAL have this great resource called Exhibiting Fashion, and they have pretty much a bunch of fashion exhibitions on there that have taken place throughout the years. They don't have all of them, and even though some of the ones that they do have, they don't really have any further information on other than the fact that it happened. But there is some photos for a lot of the exhibitions on there, as well as blurbs about what the exhibition was about, which I believe were written when the exhibitions were first released. So the blurb on UAL states, fashion absorbs, reflects, transforms, projects and reabsorbs the tastes and the biases of the social world. Like other art forms, it is both an immediate expression of contemporary culture and the genesis of a continuous history. Fashion is a dialogue between the ideas of the moment and those of the past. It is a discourse between the values and creativity of present day society. Why did I say that like that? And those of history, although it thrives in the surcharged atmosphere of pleasure, luxury, sensuality and fantasy. Today, fashion responds to everyone's needs. Fashion borrows voraciously from all sorts of distant cultures and different eras. It chooses sources of inspiration according to the desires of the period, translating them into a taste that reflects the contemporary image of culture. Fashion is both perpetual and ephemeral. It is a conceptual art that lives and performs before our eyes. Its moments, poise and manners determine the artistic and social standards of today and tomorrow. What I'm learning from this is that I'm not cut out to be reading from a page. So I guess this gala included Chrissy Turlington, again wearing that iconic dress, Maria Sidney and Joan Rivers. And then in 1993, Jurassic Park had opened its gates for the first times, and we had Beavis and Butthead airing its first episode. And then December the 6th, we had Diana Vreeland in moderate style, with co-chair Pat Buckley. The blurb stating, until the spring of 1973, it could be said that the field of costume had been a sleepy and rarefied one, at least in the context of museums. An aura of antiquarianism seemed to enshroud every costume display, and they had, for all intents and purposes, no audience beyond a few specialists. Then in that spring of 1973, Diana Vreeland joined the Metropolitan Museum of Art as specialist consultant to the Costume Institute, and almost immediately, literally from the very first of her legendary exhibitions, The World of Balenciaga, a large and enthusiastic audience discovered costume, not only in its New York but around the world as well. Thanks to her individual achievements, there is now a broad public awareness of costume. How many people are there who can actually be credited with having transformed an entire field? Diana Vreeland did that with eclat and with an uncanny sense for drama and style. So guests this gala included fashion designer Anna Sui, creative director Grace Coddington, and model Linda Evangelista, and makeup artist James Paliados, and model Cecilia Dean. 1994, Forrest Gump was in cinemas and Friends aired the first episode. And then December 5th, we had the Orientalism, Visions of the East in Western Dress. The blurb stating the exhibition of 80 costumes and accessories is drawn almost exclusively from the Costumes Institute's own collection, with loans that include the most recent work of important contemporary designers, in examples ranging from Portuguese man's cape made from the late 16th century, Ming Dynasty velvet to Chinese-inspired ensemble by Jean-Paul Gaultier, and a North African-influenced gown by Giorgio Armani, both created in 1994. Western garments will illustrate the export textiles, aesthetic ideas, and romantic idealism of the East as incorporated into Western dress. So the co-chair for this one, for the first time, we're starting to see quite a long list of names on the co-chair list. So we've got Pat Buckley, Oscar de la Renta, designer Bill Blass, and guests this gala included Joan Rivers, model Nadia Aumann, and model Veronica Webb, who's wearing Versace. 1995, we had the release of Toy Story and the first version of the internet launch, with the theme being haute couture, with the blurb stating, "This exhibition celebrates the art and history of the haute couture, the consummate form of fashion. Every stitch and every detail is made by hand, and the garment is fitted to the particular measurement and preference of the client." Couture engages a designer with the client in a traditional manner of patrons of art and architecture. The haute couture was founded in the epoch of new modernism in the 1850s and 1860s. The invention of sewing machine and disposition to uniform sizes and commonalities in dress and visual culture were the natural opposition to couture's emphatic and deliberately archaic insistence on the handcrafts of fashion. Nonetheless, the haute couture has set standard of advanced dress for nearly 150 years. The gala took place on December the 4th. The co-chair was Anna Wintour for the first time, Annette de la Renta and Clarissa Bronfman. I'm pretty sure, from what I can gather, Anna Wintour kind of took on the baton a little bit from Pat Buckley. We also had honorary chairs this year. So we had Karl Lagerfeld and Gianni Versace, with the sponsors also being Karl Lagerfeld for Chanel and Gianni Versace, the brand. Guests to this gala included Kate Moss and Calvin Klein, Brandy and Naomi Campbell and Versace, and Cynthia Rowley and Sarah Jessica Parker. 1996, we had the first British takeover with the Spice Girls, and the Met Gala took place on December the 9th with Christian Dior. With the blurb stating, "Christian Dior will be drawn primarily from the collection of the Costume Institute, likely the finest collection of Dior in the world. More than 80 pieces in this exhibition will testify to the genius of one of the century's great fashion designers in the crucial years of artistic re-establishment and the renaissance of couture design. Beginning with the first collection that revived the traditional narrow-waisted silhouette structured by built-in corseting, Dior achieved popular recognition with this new look. He created fashion that assured elegance and promised inventiveness and delight within the parameters of sophisticated taste. In the decade from 1947, new look, to the designer's sudden death in 1957, Dior was considered the single most influential designer. Co-chairs this year included Elizabeth Tilberis, Maria Chantal, Crown Princess of Greece, Helene David Boyle, and the sponsor was Dior LVMH. Guests to this gala included Princess Diana in her Galliano dress just after her divorce, which was the most talked about topic from this gala, as well as Georgina Granville in Gucci, Iman and designer Christian Lacroix, and Donatella and Gianni Versace. 1997, Netflix launched for the first time. Yes, Netflix wasn't always a streaming site. And December 8th, we had the Gianni Versace exhibition. I believe he died during the summer, so I'm not sure if this was to honour his death or if it was planned beforehand. I'm assuming that it was to honour his death, with the blurb stating, "Gianni Versace, 1946 to 1997, was one of the great fashion designers of the 20th century. Boisterously ambitious for his art of fashion, Versace placed his traditional skills in dressmaking in service of a new, elevated vision of fashion. First creator of practical and luxurious sportswear in the 70s and early 80s, Versace realised a unique ideal in the 1980s. Like many fashion designers, Versace looked to the street where fashion has long prized the juxtaposition of popular styling, vulgar inspiration and stylish promenade. Versace chose as his exemplum the prostitute, as Toulouse-Lautrec had likewise prized the unlikely virtues and ambivalent freedoms of the prostitute in the 1880s and 1890s. In this ideal, Versace identified a strong, sensuous woman of unabashed, unashamed sexuality. Moreover, this proud woman was ready to assume the distinct highlight of runway media and celebrity, inescapable to late 20th century culture." So the co-chairs for this gala were Anna Wintour, Julie Coach and Patrick McCarthy, with sponsor David H. Coach Foundation, VH1 and Fairchild Publications. Guests to this gala and most of them wore Versace, I believe. Included designer Donatella Versace, who was pictured with a man, Madonna in Versace, Elizabeth Hurley in Versace, Cher and Andre Leon in Versace. And you can't see much of the dress, but I do believe that dress has made a very recent comeback again at the Met Gala in a different colour. I believe at the Heavenly Bodies exhibition. Stay tuned for that one. 1998, we all saw Titanic sink on the big screen. Britney Spears released Baby One More Time, and obviously I was born. And December the 7th, we had the Cubism and fashion with co-chair Anna Wintour, Miuccia Prada, Paula Cussi and Pia Getty, and the sponsor for this gala was Prada. Blurb stating the exhibition will explore the essential changes in fashion that occurred between 1908 and about 1925, and proposed that Cubism, which transformed art so radically during that period, is also a prime cause of fashion's modern forms. In examples ranging from the day ensemble with geometric patterns in shades of brown to the ivory silk pan velvet wedding dress from Madeleine Vianette and an evening wrap coat in Art Deco skyscraper design. This extraordinary selection illustrates fashion's inevitable recognition of the development of Cubism. The guests to this gala included model Claudia Schiffer, actress Gretchen Mol and actress Julianne Moore. And then the last gala of the decade was 1999. So in 1999 we had the release of The Blair Witch Project and SpongeBob graced our screens for the first time. And December the 6th we had Rock Style. The co-chair was Anna Wintour, Tommy Hilfiger and Erin Lauder, with sponsor being Tommy Hilfiger and Estee Lauder. The blurb for this gala states the Costume Institute of the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a museum in Cleveland, spotlight classic rock and roll performers and their pervasive influence on style in the exhibition titled Rock Style. On view at the Metropolitan Museum from December the 9th through to March 19th. A selection of more than 40 major rock artists who have influenced style from the 1950s to the present are represented by fashions from the collections of the Costume Institute and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum, as well as by loans from the private collections of several of the rock stars themselves. Artists represented include Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Aretha Franklin, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, Tina Turner, Elton John, Mama Cass, Stevie Nicks, Bruce Springsteen, Bono, David Byrne, Grace Jones, Madonna and Bjork. And guests to this gala included Whitney Houston, Minnie Driver and Gwyneth Paltrow, Kim Cattrall and Randolph Duke, Lil' Kim and Liv Tyler and Stella McCartney. These two outfits were again the most talked about of the gala because of how casual they were. People believed that they hadn't dressed up enough and that they should have dressed up better for the Met Gala. And with that brings us to the end of the 90s. So the next one we'll be looking at the 2000s and all the Met Galas that happened during the 2000s, so stay tuned for that. All my information will be down below, so you can subscribe, follow me on TikTok and Instagram. That's all down below, and I'll see you in the next one.